Dinich into the conversation. It seems, Heather, Gene Smith had two different things to say on the same day, which should give everyone an indication of just how complicated all of this stuff is. So let's get to the bottom of it. Ohio State is going to consider allowing players to return June 8th and allowing up to 50,000 fans. That's where he sort of netted out there. What are you hearing about how they will be able to make that safe for everybody?
Well, he had much clearer direction as to how it will be safe at this point in time for the student athletes. He said that they will have to sign up before they enter the facilities, which will be limited. Not everything is going to be open. Can't watch them.
Yeah, which is part of the usual off-season process, although there's been nothing usual about this off-season process. Now, strongly recommend the article that you posted yesterday because you talked to, it seemed, everybody about how college football is trying to implement testing after you talked with, among others, the Power 5 commissioners. What is the biggest issue they're facing right now regarding that?
Well, it starts with cost and feasibility. Dr. Brian Hainline, the NCAA's chief medical officer, told me as of today, the costs run between $100 and $150. But the one question that nobody seems to have a concrete answer for at this point is what happens if a student athlete or a coach tests positive. Jeremiah Donati, the TCU athletic director, told me absolutely.
There to be games 100 days from now?
That's a really difficult question, and I'm not trying to skirt it, but every single Power 5 commissioner that I've talked to has said we're going to be ready to go for the fall, but we are also planning for the possibility that there's no football season. So there still aren't answers. Remember, the SEC right now, the athletic directors today are going to meet in that conference with their health officials to see if the SEC is going to open up for voluntary workouts, just like Ohio State. They're going to make a recommendation to the university presidents and chancellors who will meet tomorrow. So we're still in the baby steps phase of all this. Maybe we'll see college football. I think if they can play, they will play. And I know that all of those commissioners are talking every single day to try and figure out how.
All right, Heather, we'll get more from you a little later. Thank you. But again, strongly recommended reading was her piece from yesterday. Let me bring Laura and Paul in here on a first-name basis today. There's no reason for any more than that. And Laura, you just heard the setup there, and we've been talking about the SEC getting together and having these conversations. What are you hearing about these decisions that are going to be made basically now?
Well, I think what Heather just pointed out is really important for a variety of reasons. Today is the meeting that happens with athletic directors and an entire committee that the SEC put together of medical advisors. There's a representative from each school of a high-ranking medical official that's affiliated with their program or otherwise. And then they will make a recommendation to the presidents and the chancellors that then vote tomorrow to decide whether or not to reopen and how they'll go about that. And so it's not the AD's decision here. It's not the coach's decision. It's not even these medical officials that will be making the decision. Ultimately, it comes down to the presidents. And while I expect the SEC to vote yes, the majority of the teams and the universities to vote yes, I do think there will be some that don't. And there are some disagreements at the top as of earlier this week that I heard about. So some of that may change, maybe worked out today and over the next couple of days, but I think it'll be unique to see if there's a president that maybe votes one way and his coach and AD don't agree with that and how all of that shakes out. Either way, I think that we are barreling toward a reopening and there's still a lot left to be figured out.
Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to reopen, and there may be
You've talked to say they want to come back, but in the event that there are some, either the kids themselves or the families that don't want them to go back, then what happens?
Yeah, look, here's the thing. The people that I've talked to, and I've talked to a wide variety of them, have all said, I want to be there. I want to play. I can't wait to get back and work out with my team and, follow the guidelines to the best of my ability. But I know that there are some out there that exist that aren't comfortable with this, and maybe some families, some parents that exist that are not comfortable with this. And so I do think at that point it becomes kind of what Paul said. How are they going to handle it along the lines of making sure that they do still honor these scholarships? They're going to have to do that. I don't think there's any other option. What gets really, really complicated, and we have brought this up before on the show, I know it continues to be discussed, is if you see a state or a school that is not able to open up on time, or able to get things going on time in order to really compete with the rest of the college football or the rest of their conference in the season? Do we see transfers? Do we see things like that happening? That's where there could be some loopholes in these scholarships that become incredibly complicated to manage.
All right, we'll keep trying to figure this out. And a little bit later in this hour, you guys will be back, and we're going to do some actual football conversation in the